President Obama told a crowd of about 2,000 people here at the summit the stigma surrounding painkiller addiction needs to change. The president believes we should treat addiction as a disease rather than the outcome of a bad decision. One of the signs put up by Scotty Fannon's family reads, "God's timing is perfect." Whether this is the time they'll finally get some answers is still unknown. If the Letcher County Fiscal Court passes a bathroom law, it would affect every county-owned building. That includes the courthouse. It would also impact the Letcher County Sheriff's Office and Water and Sewer Building, as well as the County Recreation Center and several community centers.
Tanner Hesterberg joins us now live from the Galt House in Louisville. Tanner?
Neil, same book, different chapter. Another election cycle and another big night for Kentucky Republicans. They sweep into power in the House. They hold serve in the Senate. Of course, they have control of the governor's mansion for at least the next 3 years. And Rand Paul, the Republican, is headed back to the U.S. Senate. From talking with other Republican leaders there at the convention, what kind of sense do you have in terms of the direction the party is currently heading? Governor, the theme on the first night of the convention was Make America Safe Again. And as you know, here in eastern Kentucky, we have a large community of law enforcement officers, many of whom, quite frankly, right now are worried when they look at the violence happening across the country. And I wonder what your message to them would be. The new air packs are lighter than the old ones. They also have longer-lasting batteries, a more accurate reading of how much air is left. Not to mention they're easier to put on and operate. So easy, in fact, a reporter can do it.
One of the advantages of the new equipment is an enhanced voice amplification system to help firefighters communicate in emergency situations.
The Letcher County Jail has been busier than normal the past few days. From Friday morning through Tuesday afternoon, 13 people were arrested on drug-related charges. Jail officials tell me that number is more than double the amount of drug-related arrests they see on a typical weekend. Martin draws on his eastern Kentucky roots for inspiration writing songs. He's written hundreds of them and usually performs live at least once per week here in Nashville. President Obama is calling for more than $1 billion in new federal funds to broaden access to treatment for opioid addiction. Research shows more Americans than ever before are overdosing on prescription pills and heroin.
We've got to stop those who are trafficking and preying on people.
An indictment against Kahn was unsealed this week, accusing him of fraud. WIP's Tanner Hesterberg is live in downtown Lexington with more on what happened in court today. Tanner?
That's right, Steve. The hearing lasted about 3 hours, and it ended with Magistrate Judge Robert Weir ruling that Eric C. Kahn must remain in custody until he decides whether the government today met its burden of proof to show that Kahn should stay in custody while this case is litigated. Now, as part of its strategy, the government called an FBI agent who helped investigate the case against Eric Kahn, and she referenced about 10 former Kahn employees, many of whom said Kahn made statements to them that if he ever found himself in legal trouble like he is now, facing federal charges, that he would flee the country, go somewhere like Ecuador or Cuba. But the defense countered that, saying that those statements, even if they were made several years ago and are now stale and are not proof that Eric C. Kahn is a flight risk. Before the picking and grinning comes sanding and drilling and a lot of patience as students at the Kentucky School of Craft put the finishing touches on their own flat-top mandolins. Walking inside here is almost like traveling back to a time before Keith Whitley was a country music sensation and was simply Keith to those who knew him.
This is Lana and Keith. They have been dating for quite some time.
Your sister?
My sister, Lana.
And he's got his guitar with him.
And he has his guitar. Carried that guitar with him wherever he went, but I think he's got on his pointed-toed shoes. I told him one time he's going to have to cut them off. They were too pointed-toed.
Don't close your eyes. Don't close your eyes. Let it be me.
Whitley's music music and memory stay alive thanks in part to this annual concert in Sandy Hook organized by the nonprofit Friends of Keith Whitley. His brother Dwight marvels at the number of people who come out to support Keith and his music all these years later.
Oh, they're still mourning over Keith. They lost their hero. I mean, they're honoring him all the time, you know, and Sandy Hook never forgot Keith. And I will say this, Keith never forgot Sandy Hook.
And now there's another monument by which to remember him. Bluegrass musician Scott Napier and artist Michael Young, both avid Keith Whitley fans, worked together to make this sign. Napier transported the sign from Hazard to Sandy Hook Saturday for the concert, where it was unveiled to the crowd and later installed. Andrea Begley chairs the Leslie County Republican Party and is overseeing Saturday's caucus here. What's something about this caucus that people probably don't understand? Rising from the rubble 4 years later. Good evening, I'm Tanner Hesterberg.
And I'm Haley Minogue. On this night in 2012, we were showing you images of damage, destruction, and death from a tornado outbreak.
But tonight, we report on a milestone in recovery efforts in West Liberty, where 2 churches that were in the tornado's path are back standing once again. And tonight, members of those churches came together for a celebration 4 years in the making. A hymn about victory is appropriate for this occasion, although 4 years ago, members of the West Liberty United Methodist Church and West Liberty Christian Church were feeling anything but victorious. On March 2nd, 2012, a tornado ripped both buildings apart. The twister also killed 6 people in Morgan County and caused billions of dollars in damage. But that night was only a chapter, not the whole story.
I believe that God has brought the West Liberty Christian Church and the West Liberty United Methodist Church to this point in time in this county for such a time as this.
Both churches are rebuilt, and Wednesday the congregation spent part of their special service at one church before walking to the other to finish, flashlights in hand to signify the light they hope to be in the community. Jane Murray is a lifelong member of West Liberty United Methodist Church. These churches are pillars of downtown West Liberty. What does it mean to see them be rebuilt?
Well, we're getting back to normal. It's a lot of hard work by a lot of dedicated people.
Deep fried inside with deep snow outside. The latest rounds of snow and ice are not cooling off the kitchen at Circle T restaurant in Hazard.
Well, this morning they was telling everyone not to get out, but my boss rang my doorbell at 5 this morning and said, "Come on, Donna," said, "We'll make it, we'll be all right."
Slick roads forced many restaurants in the area to close Friday, but the doors at Circle T stayed open, much to the liking of Chuck Jones, who considers himself a regular, even in bad weather.
Well, I've been out checking on my mother, making sure she had everything she needed and the house is warm, and just decided to come get a little breakfast, and this is the place I came to.
Workers here at Circle T say if they were not open, some of their customers might not get a hot meal during the winter storm. And some customers found themselves here for other reasons. Mud so thick, Sharon Saylor can barely walk through her front yard. Heavy rain caused the nearby creek to jump its banks and dismantle part of her home's foundation. The powerful water also tore down fences and even carried a refrigerator from her house into a neighbor's yard. Muddy water also rushed into her car, and now it won't start.
I'm just blank right now. It's been so hard on us, you know. I ain't got no feelings hardly right now. You know, I've went through so much last night and this morning.
Crews work to fix the bridge that connects Saylor's home to US 421. Several bridges, including what's left of the one I'm standing on, were casualties of flooding here in Leslie County, making it impossible for folks who live on the other side of the creek to go to and from their homes.